And this is the society as a whole. Like you talk about control, it is through slavery, and we don't even know we are slaves.
Well, we're modern day slaves now through the tax
Yeah.
man.
And well, not just that, but you look at if you look at shamanism, for example, what happens in shamanism, especially women, because women are spiritually more powerful than men
100%.
in general, because they're more heart-centered, is they when a woman comes into a, let's say, a greater awareness of the energies of truth that are happening right now, they start to lose their mind. But it's a healthy losing the mind. But because we're taught that losing the mind is going insane and going crazy, they actually do go crazy. And a lot of women and men, but mainly women, are lost to mental institutions. Men go the other way; they go to suicide,
Yeah.
right? And that's why there's I know I don't like quoting statistics at all, but from everything I've read and everything I've heard from peers that I look up to online, there are more men who commit suicide than women, right?
I've got the stats if you want it.
No,
it's,
no,
it's
I don't want
ridiculous,
the
mate.
stats. Yeah, yeah,
It's terrifying.
but but women, they end up in mental institutions, right?
Yeah.
And the the reason for that is because they don't have that anchor in the man. They don't have that anchor
Yeah.
of love.
It's there's a very big not to cut you off, but definitely in my experience growing up, there is such a gap between men and women. It's men versus women, women versus men. There's this new age feminism and everything that's going on within society. Everyone's blurring lines, and children are growing up confused, and they're using the label uh, of individualism and the safety within that. I think it's creating more confusion and more segregation between us.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. And
you
what it's all based around is sexuality, right?
yes,
Which
and
which
yeah.
which I'm going to get onto because this is the biggest part of the topic of our conversation, I believe.
Yeah.
I just wanted to finish what I was saying about these mental
No, please,
institutions.
yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Um, these mental institutions. So I was talking about the shadow of the horse, right, which is about disruption and slavery, and talk about slavery.
Hmm.
Now, because so many women have, men have ended up, so many men have ended up in prisons, that all the prisons are filling up, and so many women have ended up in mental institutions. What's happening now is that they're creating a societal mental institution by labeling us with letters: PTSD, ADHD, OCD, um, SAD, all of these letters, right? Depression and anxiety. They
Hmm.
label us, and then all of a sudden, people go along and go, oh, I've got ADHD. Like,
And
how
they
many?
create an entire personality over it. Yeah.
Honestly, the how many men's groups I've been to, and men keep labeling themselves without even seeing a psychologist. They label themselves. They got ADHD, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
ADHD comes from
Trauma.
Uh, yeah, but it all comes from the same place. All of it. PTSD, OCD, all of it. All comes from the same place. All comes from toxic shame avoidance, right? Which is narcissism. That's the definition of narcissism, right? And what sits below narcissism, so what kind of fruits narcissism is ignorance,
Ignorance, yeah.
right? And and that all comes from ignorance comes from betraying the heart,
Hmm.
right?
Betraying what you
Which
know
is
to be true about yourself.
exactly. Yeah, exactly, right? And this is how our conversation started. We spoke about the trauma and the betrayal of the heart and how it closes you down, turns you into essentially a man child and unable to talk about your emotions, let alone entertain them.
Or process them, yeah.
And for me, in my process, I didn't even know how to identify my emotions. I didn't know what
Mm.
apathy was.
I think that's a very big thing now.
It's
Yeah.
huge, yeah. Identifying your emotions is what men have they've stopped they don't understand how to do that in general. I'm just generalizing. And for me to identify my emotions, like to identify what um what shame was, to identify what pride was, what courage was.
Mhm.
Apathy was a big one for me. I didn't realize um that I had given up in a way, given up
Yeah.
creating my life.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. That's definitely something I
Yeah,
can resonate with at the moment.
yeah.
100%.
I hadn't given up in my life for my life. I hadn't given up on me. That was what kept me going. But I didn't know how to create my life, and I just
Mm.
kept going round in circles and circles.
Following the system.
Yeah, and so we live in this false societal mental institution where now everybody has something they can hold on to and say, I'm this, I'm
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's because I think they're afraid of being who they really are, and I think there's such a fear um of a consciousness, like of a one consciousness. Like you look back at 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, even 10,000 years ago, historians, archaeologists, scientists are finding more and more evidence of less technology and a greater consciousness within society. It's almost as if nowadays we live in technology is our consciousness, but that's just what the powerful or the greedy few are using in order to confuse us and make us feel like we have this consciousness when we don't.
Yeah,
And I think it does definitely stick to, I have a similar belief of like we are definitely over identified, we're over diagnosed, we're over labeled. Don't get me wrong, I think it is quite healthy for us to, if you've got a problem and you go to a psychologist and the psychologist outright says to you, yes, this is a problem, we need to put you into therapy or we need to help you, fine. If someone says to me and they go, I've actually got a doctor's note like myself, I'm diagnosed with ADHD, but it's not my entire personality. It's not my entire life. It's not everything I do revolves around the fact that I know that I've got it. I don't take medication because I don't believe I need it. It's I think ADHD for me is just something that is a response to how I was treated as a child,
yeah,
or the
absolutely.
or the lack of being treated how I needed to be as a child.
Yeah,
And now all I have to do is manage that within myself. And I wouldn't say I have ADHD anymore. I would say that I'm quite calm, collective. I have
yeah,
more.
yeah. And society would say, well, how do you know that? You know, they would
Because
gaslight you.
I trust myself and
Yeah,
I trust my internal being more than I trust anyone else outside of me, because no
yeah,
one else from the outside can tell me what I am on the inside.
yeah,
No one can really, unless I give them that open gate, like we're doing now. If I open that gate up to you and I say, look, I want you to see me for who I am, I think you're going to have a much better insight as to who I am, and help me grow as a person in that hour or the 2 hour session that we do or whatever, than a psychologist is going to get in a 10-minute meeting that I'm paying £400 for. So it's very, it makes me angry. It
yeah,
makes me
yeah,
very angry.
yeah. I understand. Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to deal with
Yeah.
this stuff.